Something I noticed today in the extension options, there's DA Dynamic Wars menu. What is Dynamic Wars? It's the mod that I put in that lets factions determine standings with each other more dynamically, where if someone is doing really, really well, more people will turn against them. If somebody's not doing very well, more people will ally with them. More other factions will ally with them. And what I didn't realize was that this mod has a very, very extensive set of menus that can allow you to analyze or even change certain things, like increase relations. Ooh, what's this mean? So let's say that you want to make someone turn against the Holy Order of Pontifex. So you select it. First of all, you can see what the current standings are. Everybody hates the Holy Order of Pontifex. Or does this mean the Holy Order of Pontifex hates everyone else? I'm not entirely sure. But you can buy +5. So what this means is, like, for the price of 500,000 credits, I can make Hitikva Free League like Holy Order of Pontifex, or maybe I can make Holy Order of Pontifex like Hitikva Free League. I'm not sure which it is. Like if I go to their menu, yeah, I think this is how other people feel about the faction selected. So if I want to make them change their opinion of me, yeah, that's definitely what this is. Ooh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. And this is legit because this isn't cheating. This is buying favor in politics, which is a real thing. For the price of credits, you can buy favor, or guess what? You can buy disfavor. So let's say I want to make someone hate the free families. So I select the free families, and I want, like right now, the fallen families, which is like I think the military arm of the free families, they are very allied, but it would cost me, I should put commas in here, it would cost me 22.5 million credits to make the fallen families not so favorable with the free families, and so on. You can say, let's just say Antigone. All right. So right now I can make the Teladi company less favorable to the Antigone Republic for the price of 2.5 million credits, buy -5, or increase relations. I can make the Teladi company go up to plus. Yeah. Oh man, that's cool. So I could buy 5 relations for them, or for them in relation to them. So I don't know why I have a relation factor. Like, how do they know what my ships, how, I'm not even sure if does my faction have relations to other factions? Isn't it my decision what to do? Or I don't know, maybe it's how my NPC pilots regard all of them. So let's go back to me. And you can see here that the Terran Protectorate is currently at -15. And I have, if I wanted to bump that up to -10, it would cost me 15 million credits. Now this gets to the part where you have to ask yourself, how much is your time worth? Because you can just go there and grind missions for them and do things. And once you get, like, I'm going to be doing Terran Protectorate next, right? And because I need good standings with them. But if your standings are below -10 or -10 or below, I think, if your standings are -10 or below, you can't even dock at their stations. So that means that I have to sit around and I have to take random non-docking missions and shoot criminals until they're happy enough with me to let me dock. And once they let me dock, then I can automate it, because all I have to do at that point is send some traders over to their space and just have them do local trading. And that will automatically grind my reputation up from -10 to whatever it ends up being. But you can't do that until you can dock at their stations. So if I was wealthy at the moment, I could spend 15 million credits to bump my Terran Protectorate standings up to the point where I could dock, and then I wouldn't have to spend all that time grinding. I think that's actually quite fair and appropriate, because 15 million credits is, especially in the early game, it takes a while to earn that, and it's worth something to you. You value 15 million credits. Later on, when you have an operating budget of 200 million credits, the expense of 15 million is going to be not worth a lot of your time, your personal time. So you might be willing to do something like this. You might be willing to buy favor with a faction in order to not have to spend so much time grinding. And I love this feature. This is awesome. Wow. So if I really want Argon, I mean, even once you're up to 19, notice that it costs 15 million to bump that up. The closer you are to 0, the less it costs to affect it by 5. And the reason for that is because in X4, the relation number is logarithmic. It's not linear. So the difference between 19 and 20 is a lot more points, behind the scenes points, than the difference between 9 and 10, or especially the difference between 1 and 2. So the closer you are to 0, in either direction, positive or negative, the closer you are to 0, the easier it is to sway that number around. And that's why, when getting from 29 to 30 is a hell of a grind. I've never gotten more than 27 with anybody, even in my previous playthrough where I was up to 1 billion credits of assets. And you can see my video to see what that looked like. But yeah, this is amazing. This means that you can actually directly influence, for positive or negative, relations for money. I love it. Recent events, that is changes that happen on their own. And the most recent Argon Federation has slightly improved relations with Holy Order, which is weird because they are at war. So they are considered at war, -20. They must have been more than -20. It's weird that Provinces Adrift is even in this list because they haven't been activated in my save yet. They are behind the inactive gate. So how do they have relations with these other factions? I don't know. Military strength. This is borderline cheaty, I think, because this lets you see the ship count of every faction. You can see that I have a large ship and 2 small ships, and that's everything. Yeah, that is all I have, isn't it? I don't have anything else. I have my Odysseus, and I have my Pegasus and my Perseus. Okay. I could have swore... No, oh, that's military. Military strength. So I have 3 military ships. And if I go to economic strength, you can see that I have 8 medium ships and 2 small ships and a station. That makes more sense. The Xenon have 146, well, they're S's. And, that would be their economic... The Xenon are a much more simplified faction because they are AI. They're essentially replicators. They take raw materials and they produce more of themselves. That's really all they do, and they are like a virus in the game. So they've got 74 stations that produce things, and they've got 146 S's which build things and move materials around. And over here, the Xenon have 33 XL ships, which would be the I, the K, and the V. VRO's additional ship being the V class, which is the K with missiles. They don't have large ships. There are no Xenon large ships. It's all extra large. Medium ships would be the P. Small ships would be the M and the N and the T. And they've got a lot of those. They've got more small ships than any other faction. Second place, Terran Protectorate. Actually, the Terran Protectorate is pretty much on par with the Xenon in terms of strength. Check this out. They've got 70 large military ships, 14 extra large. Whew. Yeah, I think if the Terran went all-out war with the Xenon, they'd probably win. Where's stored and wanted? This is where you can view the different kinds of tradable wares and how much they want, how much that is stored. So this is for if you want to make some trading decisions. Like, let's say you want to figure out, well, what do I want to sell to the Argon? Well, you want to sell refined metals, missile components, and shield components. That's what you want to sell to them, because they want a lot, but they don't have a lot stored. You don't want to sell Nevidium. They don't want any, but they have a lot stored. You don't want to sell whatever these snails are, or the superfluid coolant. So this is a pretty neat chart. This is a pretty neat chart because you can make trade decisions with it. General trade decisions. It's just by faction and tradeware. I like that. Station storage, I think, is the opposite. Yeah, this is like how much do they, oh no, this is how much do they have room for. So let's just take this example here. Stored capacity. Argon has more room for antimatter cells. Claytronics, they have the capacity. Wait, producer consumer. Okay, I admit I have no idea what this is really referring to, but it's interesting. So you got producer, consumer, different levels. So Argon, Claytronics, producer, stored. Oh, so the Claytronics production factories, they've got the capacity to store 31,000 units, but they've only got 1,000 units of Claytronics. Now, the stations that want Claytronics have a total of 6,000 units, but a capacity of 28,000. So you can make trade decisions based on these. Let's just see something here. Talati energy cells. One thing you'll probably see a lot of is Riptide. Riptide's economy is very simple. It's all about the avarice sun and the obscene amount of energy that it puts out. They've got 8.3 million energy cells stored. The consumers have a capacity for 9 million energy cells, but they've already got 8.2. So there's not a lot of room to sell energy cells to Riptide. Very useful information. But again, this is all about making large-scale strategic decisions, not necessarily the specific decisions. Like, you're not going to. This doesn't tell you which stations or anything like that. Or it's just a guide. I like it. This is nice. And the options menu, where you can change how much weight. I'm not sure what these weights mean, but clearly they're low for best friend and nemesis. And small increase or decrease has a larger weight. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what this is about. I might have to ask about that. You can see here that Hatikva is not allowed in dynamic wars, probably because they're teeny tiny. They're a very small faction. They don't really, you don't want, oh, I know why. Because they are so small, and that's just their nature. You don't want other factions all befriending Hatikva, because that's what tends to happen when a faction is that weak. It kind of keeps everyone from going extinct. The fact that the worse you're doing, the more people will like you. The better you're doing, the more people will hate you. I guess that's just how it works. Lock scale plate pact relations. This is for me, I'm sure. This this makes sure that scale plate is always got the same relations to the player, to maybe to everybody, I don't know. And the same with Duke's Buccaneers, which is the other pirate faction. And activate funeral accelerator. I do not know what this means. I got no idea. I got nothing. What does that mean, funeral? Surely it's not talking about that Split story where there's a funeral. Maybe funeral means like, honestly, I can't even guess at this point. I don't know. So that is Dynamic Wars. And it looks like a good mod, honestly. It has been working really well for me so far. I really enjoy how it has been modifying the relations between the different factions. And one thing I really have to say I love about X4, especially with this mod installed, is that it's not just the player versus the universe. There's actual relations going on between all the other factions. If you ever notice that when you play a lot of games out there, that it just seems like the game is very simplified and dumbed down in how everything works, because for some reason, different, you're not going to see a lot of fighting or allying between other factions. I can't come up with a specific example. I'm kind of wondering, like maybe Fallout. I mean, you don't see this kind of thing in Fallout. I played a lot of Fallout 4. And one thing I remember is that it's like you versus the world. There's a few stories that are going on, but ultimately when you, the player, run around and do things in different areas of the map, pretty soon you've made huge areas of the map very sterile. There's just no one that ever does anything in those areas. And of course, granted, it's been a really long time since I played it, but I remember feeling like you first get out into the world and it's alive and dynamic, and it feels like there's stuff, there in this wasteland. And then after you've killed everybody, which is such an odd thing to say, isn't it? But after you've pretty much killed off all the enemies, they never move back in. It's just sterile. It feels very artificial. But this is extremely rich and dynamic. I love it. So that's my, I guess, mod review of Dynamic Wars.